Nvidia just handed $100 million to a Paris startup you've never heard of, Gradium. And it's a sign the voice AI race just took a hard left turn. When Nvidia writes a check that sighs, tech insiders watch closely. But here's what most headlines get wrong. This isn't Nvidia deciding to build voice AI themselves. It's Nvidia making absolutely sure they are not locked out when voice AI becomes the next gold rush. Think of Gradium like the Netflix of voice AI. Netflix didn't invent streaming video, it perfected the experience and made it feel inevitable. That's Gradium's play with synthetic voice. Right now, every AI chatbot, every customer service bot, every voice assistant you interact with sounds robotic, slightly off-pitch, unmistakably artificial. Gradium solved that. Their voices are so smooth, so natural, so utterly human that you can't tell you're talking to a machine. And here's what makes the $100 million bet so significant. Nvidia sees this as the next essential piece of AI infrastructure. They own the chips, they own the models. But if voice becomes the primary way people interact with AI, and Nvidia doesn't have a stake in that race, they lose influence. This is Nvidia playing chess, while everyone else is still learning the moves. So who exactly is Gradium? They're a Paris-based AI company that's been quietly building the next generation of synthetic voice technology. Founded by a team of researchers who worked on speech synthesis at major tech companies, Gradium spent years solving one of the hardest problems in AI, making artificial voices sound genuinely human. Here's the challenge. Voice synthesis is deceptively complex. Your brain is wired to spot fake voices instantly. A single off-pitch note, a barely perceptible delay, a tiny hiccup in the intonation, and your brain screams, "That's not a real person." The uncanny valley of voice is real and deep. Most AI voices today live right in that valley. They sound almost human, which somehow makes them sound less human. Gradium's breakthrough is they train their AI on massive amounts of real human speech data and used neural networks to capture the subtle patterns that make a voice sound authentic. Natural rhythm, realistic breathing patterns, the tiny variations that real humans have. The result? Their voices pass the Turing test. You hear one and your first instinct isn't, "That's a bot." It's, "That's a person." The $100 million seed round suggests investors believe Gradium has cracked something that's worth protecting. Not just as a standalone product, but as a foundational layer that every AI company will eventually need. Why is Nvidia backing voice AI specifically? Because they see where AI is heading. Right now, people interact with AI through text. You type into ChatGPT, you read the response. But that's just the bridge between human conversation and digital interaction. The end state is voice. You call an AI, it sounds human, it thinks in real time. You can't tell it's not a person on the other end. And here's where Nvidia's strategy becomes clear. Every single one of those interactions runs on Nvidia GPUs. If Gradium becomes the voice layer that every major AI company uses, whether it's OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, Meta, then those companies all need Nvidia hardware to power it. More GPUs sold, more compute rented in cloud services, more revenue locked into Nvidia's ecosystem. This is what tech companies call a platform play. You don't always make money directly from the product. You make money from being the essential infrastructure layer underneath it. Nvidia already owns the GPU market. By backing Gradium, they're making sure they own a piece of the voice AI layer too. The $100 million isn't just funding a startup. It's Nvidia placing a strategic bet that voice is the next battleground, and they're making sure they have a seat at the table where it's fought. This is how dominance works in tech. You control the layer everyone else depends on. Now, what does Gradium's voice AI actually do in the real world? Picture this: you call your bank. You get routed to what you think is a human customer service agent. They know your history instantly. They solve your problem in 2 minutes. They sound warm, natural, slightly informal, like they actually care about helping you. But there was nobody on the other end. It was Gradium's AI. Or imagine this. You're using an AI assistant that can call businesses for you. It books your dentist appointment, handles the small talk, confirms the details, all while sounding like a totally normal human making a phone call. That's Gradium's technology at work. Or here's another angle. Every video game character could have a unique, convincing voice. Every audiobook could be narrated by an AI voice so good you'd pay for it. Every customer service line could run on AI and you'd never know the difference. The use cases explode once voice AI stops sounding like a robot. Customer service gets cheaper and better. Content creators can produce audiobooks without hiring voice actors. Accessibility tools help people who can't speak communicate naturally. Video game characters become more immersive. International services can offer native-sounding voices in any language. What Gradium is building is the voice layer that makes all of those futures possible. And Nvidia, by funding them, is making sure they profit from whichever future wins. So how does Gradium stack up against the competition? Because this isn't an empty market. OpenAI has voice modes built into ChatGPT. Google has been investing heavily in synthetic speech for years. They use it in Google Assistant, in WaveNet, in their accessibility products. Microsoft's funding voice research. Meta is quietly building voice AI too. But here's the difference. Most of those efforts are internal. OpenAI's voices sound good, but they are optimized for ChatGPT. Google's voices are engineered specifically for Google's use cases. They're not focused on making a world-class voice synthesis engine that anyone can license and integrate into their own products. Gradium's angle is different. They're building a platform. Think of them like the Nvidia of voice AI, a foundational layer that other companies build on top of. OpenAI might use Gradium's voices instead of building their own. Customer service software companies could license Gradium's engine. Video game studios could use Gradium voices for their characters. Productivity apps could integrate Gradium into their offerings. The advantage is clear: specialization. Gradium isn't trying to be a chatbot company or a gaming company. They're obsessed with making the best synthetic voice on the planet. And when you're obsessed with one thing, you usually win at that one thing. Nvidia's backing suggests they believe Gradium can become the default voice engine that everyone eventually depends on, not as a consumer product, but as the foundational layer that powers the next generation of AI applications. What does this $100 million investment actually mean for the AI landscape? First, it signals that voice is no longer a side feature. It's becoming central. If Nvidia, the company that powers almost every major AI model, thinks voice is important enough to bet $100 million on it, then voice is definitely happening. Second, it's a strong signal to other investors and startups. There's a race for voice AI dominance, and it's accelerating. Other voice startups just got a huge validation. The market got a snapshot of what investors believe a voice AI company is worth at this stage. Third, it strengthens Nvidia's moat. By investing in Gradium, they're not just backing a product, they're weaving themselves deeper into the infrastructure of the entire AI ecosystem. Every company that uses Gradium's voices is indirectly dependent on Nvidia. It's a power move dressed up as a funding announcement. For the average person watching this, here's what it means. The voice AI experiences you'll have in the next few years, whether it's a phone call with AI customer service, a video game with stunning voice acting, or an AI assistant that sounds perfectly human, there's now $100 million backing the technology that makes it feel real. The voice AI race just got serious. And Nvidia, the company that powers the entire AI industry, just put down a marker saying they intend to win it. Here's how to think about why this matters for you, even if you've never heard of Gradium before. Voice is becoming the primary interface between humans and AI. Text is fast, but voice is natural. When you're busy, when you're driving, when your hands are full, when you just want to sound normal having a conversation, voice is how you'll interact with AI. And right now, that voice interaction with AI sucks. It sounds fake. Your brain registers it immediately as not human. You respond to it differently than you would to a real person. You're less trusting, less patient, less likely to have a genuine conversation. Gradium's entire mission is to erase that boundary, make AI voices so human that your brain doesn't flag them as artificial. The moment that happens, the use cases multiply. Customer service becomes conversational instead of frustrating. AI assistants become advisors instead of chatbots. The entire relationship between humans and AI changes. And Nvidia's betting that whoever wins this race gets control of how billions of people interact with AI every single day. That's worth $100 million. That's worth more than that. So the next time you hear an AI voice that sounds unusually human, unusually natural, think about what you're listening to. there's probably a Gradium voice underneath it. And that voice exists because Nvidia decided to bet on it. But wait, there's something else happening here that most people are totally missing. Here's the bottom line. Nvidia just invested $100 million in Gradium because they see voice AI as the next battlefield in the AI wars. This isn't about Nvidia entering the voice AI market themselves. It's about Nvidia making sure they are positioned to profit regardless of who wins. That's how the biggest tech companies operate. They don't always own the winner. They own the layer underneath the winner. Nvidia owns GPUs. They own the foundational compute that powers everything else. By backing Gradium, they're trying to own a piece of the foundational voice layer. For us watching this from the outside, it means the voices you hear from AI systems over the next few years are going to sound increasingly human. Customer service calls will become conversations. Accessibility tools will become indistinguishable from human assistants. Video games will feel more immersive. The entire experience of interacting with AI is about to get significantly more convincing. The $100 million seed round for a company most people have never heard of might seem like inside baseball, but it's actually a signal that the AI industry is moving in a new direction. Voice is becoming essential, and the company that controls voice infrastructure controls a massive piece of the future. Keep watching Gradium. Keep watching how voice AI develops.